on today's wrestling news, some former AEW stars are wanted for Seth Rollins' stable.
Bryan Danielson return rumours heat up.
Netflix are pushing for a big name to leave SmackDown for Raw.
And a former WWE champion is working hurt.
I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
And this is the news. So, Seth Rollins' stable is the talk of WWE at the moment. Obviously, he currently has, his advocate or what's his technical term right now?
His very good friend.
His very good friend, Paul Heyman, and then two killers in Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. But there's always that question of, is there going to be a fourth, or I suppose fifth man? Fourth man, really, let's be perfectly honest. I don't think Paul Heyman's stepping in between the ropes anytime soon.
No.
Loads of speculation as to who it could be, and some very exciting news coming through from Corey Hayes of Body Slam, suggesting two former AEW stars who are now with WWE who could become part of the stable. Corey Hayes on X saying, Body Slam has learned through sources that WWE have had discussions regarding adding more members to Seth Rollins' led group down the line. Among the names that were pitched are current NXT North American champion Ethan Page and former NXT North American champion Ricky Saints, formerly Ricky Starks, of course. I think, to be perfectly honest, the latter is the one that interests me most in this group. He seems perfect. I know they don't like to draw comparisons between this group and Evolution, but as someone who is like a star who could go under the wing of Seth Rollins and eventually kind of break out via this stable. Braun Breaker is already like seemingly looming over Seth Rollins' shoulder anyway. I can't think of many better than Ricky Saints.
Yeah, it's not a surprise to see those two names rooted in particular, is it? Because they bring about simultaneoally very easy slot-inable experience on the main roster, but can be presented as if they're looking for that opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, like neither of them, and I say this in a complimentary fashion, by the way, they're not like green, spring chicken young guys. They're ready to go, really. And like they've kind of come in via NXT, but if they'd have come in via Raw, SmackDown, nobody would have batted an eyelid. Not really. But yeah, they occupy a strange space where, because they've not been part of the main roster, they can be presented as people that are like this close, and all they need is Seth Rollins to open the door. But in fact, is he then lowering the ceiling on them? If I can mix my metaphors, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, when those two names dropped, I was the same as you. Ricky Saints was the one I could kind of immediately visualise. Not least because, for anybody that even cares about this law, if you remember, he was like a project of CM Punk's in the CM Punk Collision era. Before, I don't know, Jack Perry started fighting. Something happened at Wembley. can't remember, probably not relevant. And then Punk wasn't on Collision anymore, and it ended up being Ricky Starks and Bryan Danielson. More on him in a minute. But that was never really paid off, and it did feel like getting Starks to that next level was like a big sort of passion project for the Punker back then. And
then Tony fumbled it,
And Murray's back on Monday. And in the meantime, like, Punk has obviously kind of gotten settled, had his fouad with Seth Rollins, and is seemingly at some point going to move past it completely. But what if he sort of moves past it via a Ricky Saints or via an Ethan Page?
Yeah, exactly. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Ethan Page's as well, and I think he would work in this stable just as much as Ricky Starks, Ricky Saints. But yeah, the intrigue of look at him, he's an absolute piece, Ricky Starks. Ethan Page, not a bad looking lad either, by the way.
No.
But having him come in, you don't have to allude to this as much on camera. Like, I sometimes do like, and it doesn't work a lot of the times. We've seen Punk reference stuff before and people will be like, huh? We get it, you get it, but a lot of other people, the casuals, don't really get it, to be perfectly honest.
Retell the story, don't just pick it back up. Yeah.
But like, if you have that, like you say, this feud, and they're like, I've got someone to introduce you to, Phil. A guy called Ricky Saints we've brought in, and you've also got the history, of course, with Cody Rhodes to factor in too.
Yeah.
Cody, kind of the reason why Ricky got in a bit of trouble with an AEW for being backstage at the Royal Rumble, and I mean, not caring and being in a box at WrestleMania. But yeah, I think as a springboard for them following NXT, and I think it's been a bit overblown in terms of people saying, they're being wasted down in NXT. They've both been North American champion, and the only thing stopping them from being the world champion is the most unstoppable man in all of wrestling, Obafemi. Understandable that neither want to take him on, to be perfectly honest. He terrifies me.
It's purpose-serving in its own right for both sides, isn't it? Both
and I think you'll find they were both the fastest champion in NXT history at their times.
Check the numbers. This guy always does. That's why he's the OTJ.
Which love Saints as part of this group, though. I think he'd be perfect. Like another mouthpiece in that group. Like, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker are, already heavies who've done big things on the main roster and can just mess people up. But like, in terms of talkers, Seth, Paul, and then, because I think Ricky Starks on his day is a great promo.
Well, I was going to add that. I was
Ricky
wondering
Saints, I keep
exactly how much Rollins in particular would want someone like a Saint just be like, well, that's going to help me. That's going to halve my load.
Yeah.
Like sending someone like him out there.
Think about when they get to New Orleans for WrestleMania now. Sorry, that doesn't work anymore. More on that in a bit.
More on that later. Switching gears to somebody that had his best days main event in WrestleMania before he decided to chill out in AEW. What an awful thing to say. It's him, I don't know. Daniel Bryan.
What the hell did I do?
Daniel Bryan, now known as Bryan. I've got to stop this. Bryan Danielson is obviously still kicking around. You may have seen by now online his appearance where he does a run-in at the end of the Arena Mexico tapings.
What a pop that was.
Yeah, like really nice. The Arena Mexico crowd giving him the yes chant and Bryan looking over the moon to just be back in the ring full stop. There's also been various sort of appearances where he's been spotted in the crowd watching shows, things like that. He's back at large and he's been speaking about a number of different subjects recently, including the potential of him returning and if he's still injured and all that kind of stuff. Now, first of all, before I kind of mention this, because this is some fantastic reporting, as usual, from Fightful Select, I always think about that, Bryan Danielson, I love lying, Cody Rhodes taught me to lie. So work is going to work.
He's a scamp, isn't he, Bryan?
Yeah, take everything he says with however many pinches of salt you like. But typically...
vegan salt.
Vegan salt. Is salt typically, like, isn't normal salt vegan or not?
Yeah, I think so.
Let us know in the comments, vegans, if salt is fine for you or if you need a vegan alternative. But a meaty news outlet, Fightful Select, always provide you with the informative protein, which we then aggregate and like turn into like really terrible Matthews burgers and serve out to you.
Sap.
Is that anything? This is what I'm about to
Sean
aggregate.
Ross steak.
Better, yes. Sean. In a bit. Right, anyway, Danielson admitted to Fightful that he wasn't feeling good physically and was trying to avoid surgery. We, Fightful Select, have not heard from anyone in AEW who has heard he's had surgery as of this point, but he said to him that his neck health was most important.
Yeah.
They go on to add that he still served as a creative consultant. He's occasionally backstage at AEW. He's done media, which obviously we've seen and we've talked about.
Does he still tell people off when they tweet stuff?
I hope so.
Presumably he's had a word with Ricochet then recently.
That's maybe what's been keeping him busy. And then they had those we spoke to at AEW said that certain things have been done and set up for whenever it is Bryan Danielson can return. If that ends up being the case, namely, for example, will he be using Danielson's moves and the various teasers since he was the one that turned on him when Danielson was last seen on TV. The story ends from Fightful. AEW was very careful to only say that he was effectively done as a full-time talent when Danielson was wrapping up, knowing he could come back. So they were, the lines were blurred on purpose at the time, weren't they? And it does seem as if with Danielson sort of circling the peripheries again of All Elite Wrestling with All In on the horizon, the looming potential death of the Death Riders. Who knows? We're not saying anything because we don't know. Maybe he doesn't, he can't tell us. That's kind of his game. But yeah, Bryan Danielson, keep him peeled.
Yeah, exactly. Really, really exciting news this year. My brain to be
like vegan potatoes.
My brain went exactly. Is there any other type of potatoes?
Well, dolphin wars are made with real dolphins, so you don't get them anymore.
Yeah, my brain immediately went to All In, and people have pitched a sort of heroes run-in to help Hangman Page finally dethrone Jon Moxley, which makes all the sense in the world. Ospreay Swerve obviously backing him up at the moment, even though they've got their issues. The Young Bucks obviously heavily involved with this, as we saw on Dynamite this week. But yeah, as a final sort of Undertaker-esque return to finally help Hangman Page finish his story and regain the AEW World title. And I think it would be amazing to have Danielson beat that guy. I disagree with all the nonsense online I saw about this of like, you've wasted Danielson's return for Ring of Honor. No, it's just a fun little thing at Arena Mexico. He didn't exactly get in there and be like, I'm going to work a 20-minute match right now.
Yeah, that's rubbish.
And it takes nothing away from if he pops up in Texas next month. It just, if anything, like you say, adds fuel to the fire by people being like, oh, so you're telling me he's around again?
Yeah. Oh, we are absolutely.
He's always been there, like you say, behind the scenes, but now... Oh, I would love it. I would absolutely love this.
Be great, wouldn't
it? But most importantly, as you say, his neck. Like people say, like, oh yeah, just bring him back. Like, don't forget we lost him for a long time because of his neck issue. So long, I will only ever caveat this, as always, with
everything from here to here is the biggest, isn't it? Head and neck.
His health's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
In all this. Right, let's move back to WWE and talk about the star that Netflix apparently and WWE are pushing to jump from SmackDown to Raw. And this is according to a report from WrestleVotes, who reports that LA Knight is the name that is being discussed. a way of refreshing the character, of course, and not only WWE sources, but Netflix having direct input on programming, according to WrestleVotes, suggesting that Knight's massive popularity can, quote, move the needle for Raw's global audience. And in theory, they are already sort of testing the waters for this, obviously. They've had LA Knight pop up in recent episodes of Monday Night Raw. He's sort of already feuding with members of Seth Rollins' stable with his... simultaneous he being costed by and then costing the likes of Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed their spots in King of the Ring. It makes all the sense in the world. I think he needs a bit of a... We talked before on the SmackDown preview podcast coming away later on today about him potentially turning heel, but this is as good as turning heel in terms of just moving him somewhere else and having him interact with a whole load of different people. A heel turn would be interesting. I'd love to see what he's like as a heel, but as of right now, it would kind of be a little bit dumb because he's so popular. People were furious he didn't win Money in the Bank. Yeah,
this is a heel turn might be a fresher coat of paint, but really is that relevant if both WWE internally and Netflix are pushing for LA Knight to be part of Raw? That's a big endorsement, really, isn't it? If like your key paymaster ultimately want that star over. WWE haven't been shy about just basically loading Raw up and letting SmackDown twist in the wind star-wise.
Yeah.
They tried to make compromises wherever they can, and up to this point, LA Knight has been one. But yeah, his appearances on Raw, I guess I haven't thought anything beyond the fact that WWE have just abandoned the brand split, so I haven't given it much more analytical thought than, LA Knight's here because they just don't care, so why should I? But maybe now we're seeing the impact maybe of...
Big name in the draft if they do that in the summer.
Indeed.
We're in the summer now, it's 30 degrees outside, but I mean, after summer.
Is that why it feels hot? I never understand what those numbers mean.
It's wham.
And I like
30 degrees is, I don't know what it is in American numbers. Big numbers.
They do like, do we have Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Celsius.
Because they have the other one, don't they? Fahrenheit. So they get 186 degrees today. It's a cool one.
Yeah, is that good or what? I don't know.
But yeah, it's never cool when LA Knight's in town because he's white hot.
Okay, he's cool.
He's cool, but the Slim Jims he plugs, like the crowds, are hot. Snap into one. Hot meat. Vegan Slim Jims?
Surely.
You must do. Maybe the Slim Jims themselves are technically vegan. Who could possibly say?
I wouldn't suggest that.
I would like a meat stick.
Speaking of Netflix, by the way, got a great deal to tell you about.
Well, me?
If you and our lovely viewers, if you guys are in America and you're bloody sick of adverts on Netflix, why not watch Netflix UK version? And if you're in the UK and you're like, I love all the documentaries, obviously, me too, on Netflix. But what movies have they got on American Netflix? Tell you what you need. NordVPN, and right now you can get 76% off and a $50 Amazon gift card. All you need to do to get that is click the link in the description. What a deal.
That's an unbelievable deal.
It's great.
76%, it's a really good VPN service as well.
Yeah, I use it. I use it myself.
Yeah, I don't mind admitting that I am a customer. And $50 or
$50 Amazon gift card.
That's unbelievable.
That is great.
That's a lot of Slim Jims you could buy.
Indeed.
Probably delivered by drone the next day because of the Amazon Prime thing.
And you could, mix things up. You could be like, you know what? I'm going to rewatch WrestleMania 41.
Yeah.
But on British Netflix.
Ooh.
And you know what? Speaking of WrestleMania,
yeah.
Michael Hamflett, our WrestleMania correspondent, I've got a question for you.
What's that?
Are you ready to double down?
Why?
Because you're the WrestleMania correspondent. You tell me why.
Because I had a dream, I had a vision, I grabbed my big red phone and start clicking. And it tells me that we are just under 10 months away from WrestleMania.
301, 302 days?
Thereabouts, yeah. I am so excited, but I'd like to be serious for a second. Because this week, I just am grateful for the opportunity to share with you, all of our viewers and subscribers, just something that I've always felt quite insecure about over the years. That's right. When I was younger, formative years, and we'll laugh about the past. But yeah. Formative years when I did consider what it would be like to have sexy sex with the adult Nala from The Lion King. I never knew if I was going to be accepted for such a thing.
You thought you were going to be an outcast?
Yeah. And just the response this week, the outpouring of support for those of you that have shared your own lustful desires and thoughts for animated characters, non-human, don't make it weird. Yeah. I'd like to thank you for the outpouring of support and the sharing, because when we all share, we all grow. down here, according to some of the stuff you said. And
this has been insane. This. I
thank-
want to put my dick in a toaster.
as a thank you for the comments, and please leave more in the comments below. If you've ever had lustful thoughts towards an animated character that isn't human, don't make it weird. I will be reading some of the best ones on today's SmackDown preview, wherever you get your podcasts.
Big pod today.
Potentially Spotify, we don't know, something's going on there. But WhatCulture Wrestling YouTube channel.
We're back now, it's all right.
WhatCulture Wrestling podcast YouTube channel, and everywhere else you get your podcasts, I will be selecting some of the best ones from the comments this week of those that have wished to, either have it or think about having it with some of your favourite animated characters, starting, of course, with your admission about, who was it from Beauty and the Beast?
Mrs. Potts. Angela Lansbury, Mrs. Potts, to be particular.
Angela Lansbury.
Not Angela Lansbury. Well, nothing against Angela Lansbury.
Well, I was going to say, the first ever film I saw Angela Lansbury in, there was one of my favourite lines from it, and I looked at Angela Lansbury in this film, and I said, what's this got to do with my knob? She was a witch, of course, in Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Yes.
That's what he says.
Yeah. Thanks to everyone who's quite a few in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, it does seem a popular one.
Clock, Feather Duster.
Yeah, there's some hardies with the baddies in Beauty and the Beast. I'll be sharing some more. I'm going to collate some and read out some of the best ones for our SmackDown preview.
We'll be previewing SmackDown at some point on that podcast. It's just going to take a while.
We've got a lot of stuff to get to.
Yes.
You might even see an attempt at a world record, or at least a sort of approximation of that, because the real world record's not getting done. Too much.
Sidge is going to come in and watch that, he said.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Is it my story now?
I think so.
Oh, good.
I forgot where we are.
I don't know where we are. But
we've got an after news as well today.
Oh yeah, there's more of this coming. If you can't get enough of this, then why would you not? A former world champion is working hurt.
Oh,
Damien Priest.
I saw this, yeah.
This is per Fight for Select. While Drew McIntyre himself was obviously working through some injuries in their FUED that they've had kind of going through WrestleMania and in the aftermath in the last few weeks. The absence currently with WWE is something contractual. Drew McIntyre was given that time off to just heal up, but just generally get time off as well. Damien Priest, however, just as banged up, has been kind of going through it nonetheless. The Fight for Select report notes he specifically sustained injuries that he worked through. Several WWE sources spoke well of Priest for doing just that and noted that working through SummerSlam seemed to be important for him as it's a home game for him.
Of course.
Obviously, it's going to be in New Jersey this year at MetLife. It's a big thing for him. He's looking ahead to SummerSlam. Quote, sources familiar with creative pitches claim that he's supposed to be figured into creative for that show.
Jacob Fatu? Oh no, he's doing solo probably for that.
Yeah, but there was a time, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Them two were coming together. Priest, of course, did feature in a King of the Ring qualifier, but that was the one won by Cody Rhodes. So nothing from right now, but it does seem like SummerSlam's a goal, and that is potentially why he is trying to shake off the niggles and keep on working. But fair play.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say the exact same thing. Fair play for him working through this, because he's had a rough feud with Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
That awesome match at WrestleMania, and then they were like, right, that was tough. Go at it in a cage, I suppose, after that.
Yeah.
Obviously, he sort of won that feud effectively with Drew McIntyre, stepping out of the cage, the frustration of, who was it who got annoyed with that? Your man from Predator, whose name's completely escaped.
Yeah, who was that?
Anyway,
He's furious, isn't he?
He was very upset with all this. And
Jesse Ventura.
Thank you.
Went right in my head there.
He's working through
What's
it.
he escaping from? That's a terrible Jesse Ventura. What's he escaping? I can't
Need
do
Karrion
it.
Cross.
Lost it.
That's what we need. He does a great Jesse Ventura impression, as Chris
yeah.
Van Vliet knows. But yeah, I really like
Damien
Damien Priest. I think he's. Considering he's dropped the world title, I don't think his stock has dropped much whatsoever within WWE. Clearly, they've got big plans for him, and just credit to him for working hurt. And I hope he gets his moment at SummerSlam, because he deserves it for me.
Yeah, he's wanted to act like a world champion in the respects that it's often required that you kind of don't miss dates and all that kind of stuff. I know there's less of a toxic attitude towards injuries and working through them these days, which is a good thing.
Yeah, they're not being forced to work through it anymore.
But obviously if it's stuff that he believes he can shake off, he's wanting to present himself as the leader and the experienced hand that he is, and more power to him.
Came along to Sweet Chin Disco when we were in London. That was a lovely man.
All the stars are there.
Bought around for everybody. Very, very generous. Thank you once again, Damien, for that. It's lovely to chat to him. If you want to join us for our Sweet Chin Disco dates that we are doing all alongside the WWE shows, then you can check
Not
that
we.
out.
I'm not.
Sorry, yeah, I say we as in me and my best friend Mark Henry.
I'd give anything.
We are all across the UK later on this August, accompanying the WWE live shows with a whole host of after parties. Search for Sweet Chin Disco on dice.fm, or just on socials. Check out our amazing clips and find all the links there. Also, later on today, some might say there might be another announcement. If I say any more, I'm in big trouble.
I'll put him over because he's often too proud to do just that. If you like Adam Wilborn, and why wouldn't you? He's at his absolute career best on these shows, and he does so. He's the finest dressed man in the entire room as well. Also, if you hate this guy,
say,
freedom to heckle, get as pissed as you like and shout all sorts of stuff.
And I'm only on there for like 30 seconds at a go, and then there's like really talented people.
You
like
can't stop
Mark Henry.
You can say what you want in like a real life setting.
Yeah.
Like, you know when you've been absolutely furious and like punch the keyboard, get him off my screen. Get yourself along to Sweet Chin Disco and say it to his face.
Say it to my face. Alex Riley, he could be there.
Might play it. Mark Henry show.
That's a tune, actually.
It is, yeah. That'd go down well. That'd go off.
But yeah, join us for that. And join us for the after news later on today. In the meantime, why not check out this video right here? We'll see you later. Bye.